Months passed, and life in the small town returned to its quiet rhythm. The forest clearing where Zira's ship had once rested became overgrown with grass and wildflowers, hiding any trace of the extraordinary events that had unfolded there. To most people, it was just another part of the woods, untouched by anything out of the ordinary. But for Laura, the memories remained vivid, a constant reminder of the bond she had shared with an alien girl from the stars. Though her days were filled with routine tasks, working at the library, helping neighbors, and spending time with Emily, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that something important was waiting just beyond the horizon. She often found herself staring at the device Kale had given her, wondering if it would ever activate. Would Zira reach out? Or would the Valens decide Earth wasn't ready for contact after all? One evening, as Laura sat on her roof with her telescope, she noticed a familiar blinking light moving across the sky. Her heart raced as she adjusted the lens, trying to get a clearer view. This time, the light didn't disappear behind the clouds. It grew brighter, descending toward the forest. Without hesitation, Laura grabbed her flashlight and hurried to the clearing. When she arrived, she saw a glowing sphere hovering above the ground, its surface shimmering like liquid metal. The hatch opened slowly, and out stepped a figure. At first, Laura thought it was Kale returning, but then she recognized the soft blue glow and the wide, curious eyes. "Zira!" Laura exclaimed, tears welling up in her eyes. Zira smiled, her skin glowing brighter as she approached. "Laura, I missed you." Laura hugged her tightly, overwhelmed with emotion. "I can't believe you're here. Are you okay? Did you make it home safely?" "Yes," Zira replied. "My people welcomed me back. They listened to my story about you and Earth. It changed their minds." "What do you mean?" Laura asked, stepping back to look at her friend. "The council decided to watch humanity more closely," Zira explained. "They want to learn about your world, your kindness, your struggles. And they agreed to let me return to say goodbye." Tears streamed down Laura's face as she processed Zira's words. "Goodbye?" Zira nodded, her expression bittersweet. "I cannot stay long, but I wanted to see you one last time to thank you for everything you did." Laura wiped her eyes, trying to smile through her sadness. "You don't need to thank. Helping you was the best thing I've ever done." Zira reached into her pouch and pulled out a small object, a smooth, metallic sphere similar to the one Kale had given Laura. "This is for you," she said softly. "A gift from my world." Laura accepted it, turning it over in her hands. "What does it do?" "It shows memories," Zira explained. "When you touch it, you will see images of Vela, our cities, our oceans, our people, and memories of us." Laura's voice cracked as she spoke. "I'll treasure it forever." For the next hour, they sat together under the stars, talking about everything that had happened since their last meeting. Zira told Laura about her return to Vela, how her family had embraced her, and how her stories had sparked curiosity among her people. Laura shared updates about her own life, though she admitted nothing felt quite as magical as their time together. As the night wore on, Zira grew quieter, her glowing skin dimming slightly. Laura knew their time was running out. Finally, Zira stood preparing to board her ship. "I have to go now," Zira said, her voice trembling. "But I will never forget you, Laura. You showed me that humans are capable of great kindness and courage." "And you showed me that the universe is full of wonders," Laura replied, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for trusting me, Zira." Zira stepped closer, placing a small hand on Laura's shoulder. "Someday our worlds will meet again. Until then, keep looking at the stars." With that, Zira turned and climbed aboard her ship. The hatch closed behind her, and the vessel began to hum louder, its surface glowing brighter. Laura stepped back, shielding her eyes as the ship lifted off the ground. Within seconds, it shot into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. Standing alone in the clearing, Laura clutched the metallic sphere tightly. watching the spot where the ship had vanished. Though her heart ached with sadness, she also felt a deep sense of gratitude. Meeting Zira had changed her life in ways she never imagined. It had taught her about bravery, friendship, and the limitless possibilities of the universe. The next morning, Laura woke up early, eager to try out Zira's gift. Sitting on her roof with the metallic sphere in her hands, she touched its surface. Gently. Instantly, holographic images sprang to life around her. Pictures of Vela's floating cities, shimmering oceans, and strange creatures with glowing wings. She saw glimpses of Zira's family, their faces filled with warmth and curiosity. And then she saw herself working on the ship, laughing with Zira, sharing meals under the stars. Tears filled Laura's eyes as she watched the memories unfold. It was as if Zira were still there with her, reminding her of the connection they had shared. For the first time in weeks, she felt peace. Over the following months, Laura continued her nightly stargazing, holding on to the hope that someday humanity and the Valens would meet again. She told Emily about Zira's visit, sharing the holograms and stories of Vela. Together, they dreamed of a future where Earth and the stars could coexist peacefully. Though Laura never saw Zira again, she kept the metallic sphere close, using it to relive their memories whenever she felt lonely. Each time she looked at it, she remembered Zira's promise. Someday, our worlds will meet again. And so, Laura kept looking up at the stars, her heart filled with hope. Somewhere out there, among the vastness of space, a bridge had been forged between two very different worlds. It was a connection built on trust, kindness, and the belief that even the smallest actions could change the course of history. As the years went by, Laura shared her story with others, inspiring them to dream of the universe beyond Earth. She knew that humanity still had much to learn, but she also believed in its potential for growth and understanding. And deep down, she hoped that when the day came for humans and Valens to truly meet, they would remember the bond she and Zira had created. Until then, Laura held on to her memories, knowing that the stars would always remind her of the alien girl who had changed her life and perhaps the lives of countless others forever. The weeks passed, and life in the small town returned to its usual rhythm. The forest clearing where Zira's ship had been repaired grew over with weeds and fallen leaves, erasing any trace of the extraordinary events that had taken place there. To most people, it was just another patch of woods, untouched by anything unusual. But for Laura, the memories lingered, vivid and alive in her mind, though she tried to focus on her daily routine working at the local library, helping neighbors, and spending time with Emily. Laura couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. She missed Zira's curious questions, her glowing smile, and the sense of purpose she had felt while working on the ship. It wasn't just the loss of a friend. It was the loss of a connection to something greater than herself. One evening, as Laura sat on her roof with her telescope, she noticed something strange in the sky. A faint blinking light moved slowly across the horizon, similar to the one she had seen before Zira's arrival. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be another alien ship? Or was it simply a coincidence? Laura grabbed her camera and zoomed in on the light, capturing as much detail as possible. Though the object eventually disappeared behind the clouds, the sight left her restless. She spent hours reviewing the footage, searching for clues that might explain what she had seen. By the time she finally went to bed, her mind was racing with possibilities. The next morning, Laura decided to share her discovery with Emily. Over coffee, she showed her friend the video of the blinking light. Emily watched intently, her brow furrowed in thought. "Do you think it's another alien?" Emily asked, glancing up at Laura. "I don't know," Laura admitted. "It could be anything, a satellite, a plane, or even just a trick of the light. But after everything that happened with Zira, I can't help but wonder." Emily nodded slowly. "If it is an alien, do you think they'll come looking for you?" Laura shrugged. "Maybe. Or maybe it's just passing through. Either way, I feel like I need to be ready." Over the next few days, Laura prepared herself for the possibility of another encounter. She restocked her supplies, gathering tools and materials she might need if someone or something needed help again. She also spent more time stargazing, hoping to catch another glimpse of the mysterious light. Her vigilance paid off one night, when she spotted the blinking light once more. This time, it seemed closer, almost hovering above the forest. Laura grabbed her flashlight and hurried to the clearing, her heart pounding with anticipation. When she arrived, she found nothing unusual, just trees swaying in the breeze and the soft rustling of leaves. Disappointed, she turned to leave, only to hear a low hum behind her. Spinning around, she saw a glowing sphere descending from the sky, identical to Zira's ship. The hatch opened, and out stepped a figure, but it wasn't Zira. This alien was taller, with silver skin that shimmered like moonlight. Its eyes were narrow and sharp, and its movements were deliberate and precise. Laura froze, unsure whether to run or stay. "You are the human who helped Zira," the alien said. Its voice smooth and mechanical. "Yes," Laura replied cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name is Kale," the alien said. "I am a member of the Valen Council. Zira spoke highly of you during her report." Relief washed over Laura. If this alien knew Zira, then perhaps he wasn't a threat. Still, she remained cautious, keeping a safe distance. "What do you want?" Laura asked. Kale tilted his head slightly. "We wish to understand humans better. Zira's account of your kindness and bravery intrigued us. We have come to observe." "Observe?" Laura repeated, frowning. "What does that mean?" "We will not interfere," Kale assured her. "But we must ensure that humanity is ready for contact. Your species is unpredictable." Laura crossed her arms. Unpredictable doesn't mean dangerous. Humans are capable of great things when given the chance. Kale studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "Perhaps that is why we are here to learn." For the next hour, Kale asked Laura questions about Earth, its people, and their history. He listened intently as she described humanity's struggles and achievements, its wars and its acts of compassion. Though his tone remained neutral, Laura sensed a flicker of curiosity beneath his calm exterior. Before leaving, Kale handed Laura a small device, similar to the one Zira had given her. "This is a communication link," he explained. "If you ever need assistance, or if you wish to speak with Zira, you may use it." Laura accepted the device, her hands trembling slightly. "Will I see Zira again?" "That depends on many factors," Kale replied. "But know this, your actions have earned our respect. You are a bridge between our worlds." With that, Kale boarded his ship, which lifted off into the sky, disappearing within seconds. Laura stood in the clearing, clutching the device tightly. Though the encounter had been brief, it filled her with hope. Maybe Zira's promise hadn't been empty after all. Maybe someday, humanity and the Valens would truly meet Dot in the days that followed. Laura shared her experience with Emily, who listened with wide-eyed fascination. Together, they speculated about what the future might hold. Would the Valens return? Would humanity ever be ready for contact? Though neither of them had answers, they agreed on one thing. Laura had played a small but important role in bringing the two species closer together. Laura continued her nightly stargazing. Now, with renewed purpose, each time she looked up at the stars, she imagined Zira somewhere among them, watching over her. And though she didn't know when or if she would see her friend again, she held on to the belief that their bond transcended distance and time. Evening, as Laura adjusted her telescope, she noticed a faint shimmer in the sky, a glimmer of blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. Smiling, she whispered, "I'm still here, Zira, whenever you're ready." The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but Laura no longer felt alone. Somewhere out there, a connection had been forged, one that promised endless possibilities. Until then, she would keep looking up, dreaming of the day when humanity and the stars would meet again. The days following Zira's departure were quiet and strange for Laura. The forest clearing once filled with the hum of the alien ship and Zira's soft voice, now felt empty and lonely. Laura visited the site often, staring at the patch of earth where the ship had been buried. She couldn't help but replay their final moments together in her mind, the way Zira had promised to remember her, the glow of her skin as she stepped aboard the vessel, and the rush of wind as the ship lifted off. Despite the sadness gnawing at her heart, Laura felt a sense of pride. She had done something incredible, something most people could only dream of. Helping Zira repair her ship wasn't just about fixing broken parts. It was about building trust between two very different beings. For a brief time, Laura had been part of something bigger than herself, something that connected Earth to the poor stars. But life didn't stop because Zira was gone. Laura returned to her routine, going to work, running errands, and spending evenings stargazing from her rooftop. Yet, no matter how hard she tried to focus on normal things, her thoughts always drifted back to Zira. What was she doing now? Had she made it home safely? Did her people believe her stories about Earth? One evening, as Laura sat on her roof scanning the night sky, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a text from her best friend Emily. "Hey, can we talk?" "You've been acting weird lately," Laura sighed. Emily had always been perceptive, and Laura knew she couldn't keep avoiding her forever. They hadn't spoken much since Zira arrived, mostly because Laura wasn't sure how to explain everything without sounding crazy. But now, sitting alone under the stars, she realized she needed someone to share her secret with, even if they might not fully understand. "Sure," Laura replied. "Come over tomorrow afternoon." When Emily arrived the next day, she immediately noticed a change in Laura's demeanor. Her usually cheerful friend seemed distant, lost in thought. After making some coffee, Laura invited Emily to sit on the couch. "You okay?" Emily asked, studying Laura's face. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world." Laura hesitated, unsure of where to begin. How could she explain something so unbelievable? Finally, she took a deep breath and said, "I met someone recently. Someone not human." Emily's eyebrows shot up. "What do you mean, not human?" "I mean, she was an alien," Laura clarified, bracing herself for laughter or disbelief. "Her name was Zira. She crashed here, and I helped her fix her ship." To Laura's surprise, Emily didn't laugh. Instead, she leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Wait, seriously? An actual alien? Like little green men kind of alien?" "Not exactly," Laura admitted. "She was small, with blue skin and big eyes. Her people call themselves Valens. They're peaceful explorers, not invaders or anything scary like in movies." Emily stared at her for a moment, then burst out laughing. "Oh my gosh, you're serious? This isn't some prank, is it?" "Nope," Laura said with a small smile. "I wish it was. Then maybe I wouldn't feel so weird talking about it." Over the next hour, Laura told Emily everything from the mysterious light she had seen in the sky to her friendship with Zira and the hunter's confrontation in the forest. Emily listened intently, occasionally interrupting with questions or exclamations of disbelief. By the end of the story, her expression had softened into awe. "That's insane," Emily said finally. "Like, actually insane, but also kind of amazing. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I didn't think you believed me," Laura admitted. "And honestly, I wasn't sure I believed it myself at first. It all happened so fast." Emily reached over and squeezed Laura's hand. "Well, I believe you, and I think it's incredible. You basically saved an alien's life," Laura chuckled. "Yeah, I guess I did. But it wasn't just me. Zira trusted me, even though her people are supposed to avoid contact with humans. She taught me so much about courage and kindness." As they talked, Laura felt a weight lift off her shoulders. Sharing her experience with Emily made it feel real again, not just a fleeting moment in her life, but something meaningful and transformative. For the first time in days, she smiled genuinely. Meanwhile, high above Earth, Zyra's ship traveled through the vastness of space. Though she was relieved to be heading home, her mind kept drifting back to Laura. The human woman had been so kind, so determined to help her despite the risks. Zara had never met anyone quite like her before. As the ship approached Vela, Zara prepared herself for what lay ahead. Her people were cautious by nature, wary of outsiders and unfamiliar worlds. Telling them about Laura and Earth wouldn't be easy. Some might see her actions as reckless, even dangerous. But Zira knew she couldn't stay silent. Laura had changed her perspective on humanity, showing her that fear didn't have to define their interactions. When Zira finally landed on Vela, she was greeted by her family and fellow explorers. Their glowing forms surrounded her, asking questions about her journey and expressing relief at her safe return. Zira hugged her parents tightly, feeling their warmth and love wash over her. But when the questions turned to her mission, she hesitated. "I encounter humans," she admitted softly. "They are complex. Some are fearful, yes, but others are brave and compassionate. One human helped me repair my ship and sent me home safely." Her words caused murmurs of concern among the crowd. A council member stepped forward, his form shimmering with authority. "You know the rules, Zira. Contact with less advanced civilizations is forbidden unless absolutely necessary." "I know," Zira replied. "But I believe this human, her name is Laura, is proof that we shouldn't judge entire species based on assumptions. She risked her safety for me, even though she had no reason to." The council member frowned, considering her words. "Tell us more about this Laura. What makes her different?" Zira described Laura's determination, her curiosity, and her willingness to bridge the gap between their worlds. She spoke of their shared laughter, their late-night conversations, and the bond they had formed despite their differences. By the time she finished, many of the Valens looked thoughtful rather than skeptical. After a long discussion, the council agreed to consider Zira's observations. While they wouldn't immediately open diplomatic relations with Earth, they decided to monitor humanity more closely. Perhaps someday, the two species could meet on equal terms. Back on Earth, Laura continued her nightly ritual of stargazing. One evening, as she adjusted her telescope, she noticed a faint blinking light moving across the sky. At first, she thought it was just another satellite or airplane. But then, the light paused directly above her house, pulsing rhythmically. Laura stepped outside, staring up at the sky. For a moment, she thought she saw a familiar shimmer, a glimmer of blue light among the stars. Smiling, she whispered, "Goodbye, Zira. Thank you." Though she couldn't be certain, Laura chose to believe that Zira was watching over her, just as she would always watch the stars. Somewhere out there, a connection had been forged, one that might one day bring humanity and the Valens closer together. Until then, Laura held on to hope, knowing that the universe was full of possibilities waiting to be discovered. The days passed quickly, and soon Laura and Zira were nearing the final stages of repairing the ship. The once damaged vessel now hummed with renewed energy, its cracks sealed and its systems restored to near-perfect condition. Despite their progress, however, a growing sense of unease began to creep into Laura's mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. One morning, as Laura drove to the forest, she noticed something unusual. A group of men gathered near the edge of the woods. They were dressed in camouflage jackets and carrying rifles, their faces serious. Laura slowed her car, watching them from a distance. One of the men, a gruff-looking man named Richard, caught her eye. He was the leader of a local hunting group, known for his loud voice and quick temper. What were they doing here? Laura parked her car farther away than usual, deciding it was best to stay out of sight. She grabbed her bag of tools and supplies and hurried into the forest on foot. When she reached the clearing, she found Zira pacing nervously beside the ship. The alien girl's glowing skin dimmed slightly, a sign that she was worried. "They're close," Zira said, her voice trembling. "I heard them." "Who?" Laura asked, though she already suspected the answer. The humans with weapons. Zira replied, "They searched for me." Laura's heart sank. She had hoped to keep Zira's presence a secret, but it seemed their luck had run out. Word must have spread about the strange lights in the sky and the mysterious object that had crashed in the forest. Now, Richard and his group were determined to find out what was going on. "We need to finish the repairs today," Laura said firmly. "If we can get the ship working before they arrive, you'll be safe." Zira nodded, though her expression remained troubled. "But if they see me, if they know—" "They won't," Laura interrupted, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "We'll figure this out." As they worked, Laura kept one ear tuned to the sounds of the forest, listening for any signs of approaching footsteps. Every rustle, off leaves or snap of a twig made her jump. Zira stayed close to the ship, her movements hurried but precise. Together, they focused on the final adjustments, tightening bolts, connecting wires, and testing systems. By midday, they were almost done. The ship's energy levels were stable, and the engine emitted a low, steady hum. But just as Laura was about to celebrate, a shout echoed through the trees. "There!" someone yelled. "Over there!" Laura turned to see Richard and his group stepping into the clearing. Their eyes widened as they took in the sight of the glowing sphere and the small blue-skinned figure standing beside it. For a moment, no one moved. Then Richard raised his rifle, pointing it at Zira. "What is that thing?" he demanded, his voice harsh and accusing. "It's not a thing," Laura snapped, stepping protectively in front of Zira. "She's a person. And she's not hurting anyone," Richard sneered. "You expect us to believe that? This isn't natural. It's dangerous." "She's not dangerous," Laura insisted. "She's just trying to fix her ship so she can leave. Please, let her go." The hunters exchanged skeptical glances, but Richard wasn't convinced. "How do we know she won't come back with more of her kind? Or worse, bring some kind of weapon?" Zira peeked out from behind Laura, her large eyes filled with fear. "I mean no harm," she said softly. "I only wish to return home," Richard laughed bitterly. "Yeah, right. Like we're supposed to trust something that looks like that." Laura's mind raced. She needed to defuse the situation before it escalated further. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer to Richard, keeping her hands visible to show she wasn't a threat. "Look," she said calmly, "I know this is strange, okay? I didn't believe it at first either. But Zira hasn't done anything wrong. She's alone, scared, and just wants to get back to her people. If you let her leave, none of you will ever see her again. Isn't that enough?" Richard hesitated, lowering his rifle slightly. His companions muttered among themselves, some nodding in agreement while others scowled. Finally, he sighed and lowered the weapon completely. "Fine," he said gruffly. "But if anything happens, if any of us see another one of those things, you're responsible. Got it?" Laura nodded quickly. "Thank you." As the hunters retreated into the forest, Laura exhaled in relief. She turned to Zira, who was still trembling. "It's okay," she whispered. "They're gone." Zira looked up at her, tears glistening in her wide eyes. "They hate me." "No, they don't," Laura said gently. "They're just scared. Humans sometimes react badly to things they don't understand. But I'm here, and I'll make sure nothing happens to you." Though the immediate danger had passed, the encounter left Zira shaken. That evening, as they sat together under the stars, Zira confided in Laura, her voice heavy with guilt. "I should not have come here," Zira admitted. "My presence puts you in danger. If your people knew—" "Stop," Laura interrupted firmly. "You didn't choose to crash here. And besides, meeting you has been the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me. Don't you dare regret it." Zira managed a weak smile. "You are brave, Laura. Braver than many Valens I know." Laura chuckled. "Well, maybe bravery is just another word for stubbornness." For the rest of the night, they worked quietly, finishing the last few repairs. By dawn, The ship was ready to fly. Zira tested the controls one final time, her face lighting up with relief as the systems responded flawlessly. "It works," she said, turning to Laura. "You did it." "We did it," Laura corrected, smiling despite the lump forming in her throat as the sun rose over the horizon. Casting golden light across the clearing, Laura realized this was goodbye. Zira would soon leave, returning to her world among the stars. Though she had known this moment was coming, it didn't make it any easier. Before boarding the ship, Zira paused, looking at Laura with gratitude and sadness. "You saved me," she said softly. "Not just my ship, but my hope. I will never forget you." Laura swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "And I'll never forget you, Zira. Promise me one thing when you get home, tell your people about me, about how kind humans can be." Zira nodded. "I promise." With that, Zira stepped aboard the ship. The hatch closed behind her, and the vessel began to hum louder, its surface shimmering with light. Laura stepped back, shielding her eyes as the ship lifted off the ground. Within seconds, it shot into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. Standing alone in the clearing, Laura felt a mix of emotions, sadness, pride, and wonder. She had helped an alien repair her ship and sent her safely back to the stars. It was a story no one would ever believe, but that was okay. Laura didn't need anyone else to know. She had lived it, and that was enough. As she walked back to her car, the forest seemed quieter than before, but when she looked up at the sky, she smiled. Somewhere out there, Zira was traveling home, carrying the memory of their friendship with her. And someday, perhaps, humanity and the Valens would meet. Again, not as strangers, but as friends. Over the next few days, Laura and Zira worked tirelessly on the ship. Each morning, Laura would arrive at the clearing with fresh supplies, tools, or ideas she had thought of during the night. Zira, eager to learn more about human ingenuity, greeted her with growing enthusiasm. Together, they tackled each problem step by step, their teamwork becoming smoother with every passing hour. Laura quickly realized that Zira was not just intelligent, but also deeply curious about Earth and its people. During breaks, Zira would ask questions about everything: how cars work, why humans wore clothes, what music sounded like. Laura did her best to explain, often using simple comparisons to make things easier for Zira to understand. One afternoon, as they sat under a tree eating lunch, Zira pulled out a small device from her pouch. It looked like a smooth metallic sphere, no bigger than a tennis ball. With a touch, it projected images into the air, pictures of towering cities floating above shimmering oceans, strange creatures with glowing wings, and vast landscapes filled with colors Laura had never seen before. "This is my home," Zira said softly, her voice tinged with longing. Vela, Laura stared in awe at the holograms. The world Zira described was breathtakingly beautiful, so different from Earth, yet equally fascinating. She pointed to one of the floating cities. "Do you live there?" Zira nodded. "Yes. My family, they wait for me." The sadness in Zira's tone made Laura's heart ache. She could tell how much Zira missed her home, even though she rarely spoke of it. Laura reached out and placed a hand on Zira's shoulder. "We'll get you back there, I promise." Zira smiled weakly. "You're kind, Laura. Humans, surprising." Their bond deepened as they shared stories. Laura told Zira about her life in the small town, her love for stargazing, and her dreams of exploring the universe. In return, Zira shared tales of Valen culture, how her people valued harmony with nature, communicated through light patterns, and traveled the stars in search of knowledge. Though their worlds were vastly different, Laura found herself relating to Zira in ways she hadn't expected. Despite their progress, challenges remained. Some parts of the ship were too damaged to repair with Earth materials, and Zira struggled to adapt her advanced technology to work with human tools. Frustration sometimes bubbled over, especially when something they had worked hard on failed to function properly. But Laura always reminded herself and Zira that they were doing their best with limited resources. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Laura noticed Zira staring at the stars. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the twilight, making her look almost ethereal. Laura joined her, sitting quietly for a moment before speaking. "Do you miss being out there?" Laura asked, pointing to the sky. Zira nodded. "Yes, stars are familiar, safe," Laura sighed. "I've always wanted to go out there, to see what's beyond our planet. Maybe someday I will." Zira turned to look at her, her large eyes filled with curiosity. "You want to leave Earth? Not forever," Laura replied. "But I'd love to visit other worlds, meet new beings, learn new things. Isn't that why you travel?" "Yes," Zira said. "But we must be careful. Not all worlds are ready." Laura frowned. "What do you mean?" Zira hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Some civilizations not prepare for contact. They fear what they don't understand. Fear can lead to harm." Laura nodded slowly, understanding the weight of Zira's words. She thought about history books she had read, about times when explorers had clashed with native peoples simply because they didn't understand each other. The idea of humanity encountering aliens without caution sent a chill down her spine. "You're right," Laura admitted. "We're not perfect. We have wars, disagreements, greed. But we're also capable of kindness, creativity, and cooperation. Maybe if your people met mine, we could teach each other." Zira tilted her head, considering this. "Perhaps. But trust takes time." As the nights grew cooler, Laura began bringing blankets and warm drinks to the clearing. She introduced Zira to hot chocolate, which the alien girl found both puzzling and delightful. Watching Zira sip cautiously from the mug, her face lighting up with surprise at the sweetness, brought laughter to their long hours of work. Their friendship became a source of strength for both of them. On particularly tough days, when repairs seemed impossible, Laura reminded Zira of how far they had come. And when Laura doubted her abilities, Zira encouraged her, saying, "You are clever, Laura. You will find a way." One day, while working inside the ship, Laura accidentally triggered a holographic display showing detailed schematics of the vessel. Startled, she stepped back, nearly bumping into Zira. The alien girl giggled, pointing to the screen. "You pressed wrong button." Zira teased, "Well, maybe if your controls weren't so sensitive." Laura shot back playfully. They laughed together, the tension easing. Laura leaned closer to examine the hologram, pointing out areas that still needed attention. "That's..." When Zira blurted out, "Human, it's too big." Confused, Laura looked at her. "What's too big?" "Your fingers," Zira exclaimed, mimicking Laura's earlier struggle with the delicate components. "Too big for this." Laura burst into laughter, remembering their earlier exchange. Okay, I get it. My fingers are too big. But hey, I'm doing my best here," Zira grinned, her glowing skin brightening. "You are funny, Laura." Moments like these reminded Laura of how much joy Zira brought to her life. Despite the stress of the situation, she found herself looking forward to their time together. Helping Zira wasn't just about fixing a ship. It was about building a connection, bridging two very different worlds. By the end of the week, they had repaired most of the critical systems. The ship's hum had grown steadier, and the cracks along its surface had sealed themselves thanks to Zira's instructions. Still, there were a few final adjustments needed before the ship could fully function again. Laura knew they were close, but she couldn't help feeling a pang of sadness. Once the ship was fixed, Zira would leave, and their time together would come to an end. On their last evening before the final repairs, Laura and Zira sat side by side, gazing at the stars. Neither of them spoke for a long time, content to simply enjoy the quiet companionship. Finally, Zira broke the silence. "When I return home," she said softly, "I will tell my people about you." "About humans," Laura smiled. And I'll keep looking at the stars, thinking about you. Zira reached out, placing her small hand on Laura's. Thank you, Laura, for everything. Tears welled up in Laura's eyes, but she blinked them away. We're not done yet, she said firmly. Tomorrow, we finish this, together. Zira nodded, her glow steady and warm. As they sat under the vast night sky, surrounded by the sounds of the forest, Laura felt a profound sense of gratitude. Meeting Zira had changed her life in ways she never imagined. Even after the alien girl left, Laura knew she would carry the lessons of their friendship with her forever. The next morning, Laura woke up earlier than usual, her mind still buzzing with thoughts of Zira and the mysterious ship. She couldn't shake the image of the small alien girl with glowing blue skin and wide, curious eyes. It all felt surreal, like something out of a movie or a dream. But the memory of the humming sphere and Zira's soft voice was too vivid to dismiss. This was real. And now Laura had a mission, to help Zira repair her ship. After a quick breakfast, Laura gathered tools from her garage wrenches, screwdrivers, duct tape, and anything else she thought might be useful. She also packed snacks and water, knowing that working in the forest would take time and energy. As she loaded her car, she glanced at the clock. It was barely 7 a.m., but she wanted to get to the site as soon as possible. The sooner they started, the better their chances of fixing the ship before anyone else stumbled upon it. When Laura arrived at the clearing where she had left Zira the previous evening, she found the alien girl waiting patiently beside the glowing sphere. Zira's expression brightened when she saw Laura, and she waved shyly. You came, Zira said, her voice carrying a mix of relief and gratitude. Of course I came, Laura replied with a smile. I promised, didn't I? Zira nodded, then gestured toward the ship. It broken. Need help. Laura knelt down to examine the ship more closely. Up close, it was even more impressive and intimidating. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, and faint pulses of light traveled across it in patterns Laura couldn't decipher. She noticed several cracks along the lower section, and one part of the hull seemed dented. Whatever had caused the damage must have been significant. Do you know what's wrong with it? Laura asked, turning to Zira. Zira hesitated, then pointed to a panel near the base of the ship. Energy, low. Parts, damaged. Her words were slow and deliberate, as if she were carefully choosing each one. Need materials. Fix, Laura frowned. Materials like what? Zira tilted her head, thinking. Then she reached into a small pouch strapped to her side and pulled out a holographic device. With a flick of her finger, a three-dimensional blueprint of the ship appeared in the air. Laura gasped. The display was unlike anything she had ever seen, detailed, colorful, and eerily lifelike. Zira touched a section of the hologram, highlighting certain areas. These parts, Zira explained, pointing to the highlighted sections. Broken. Need replace. Laura studied the diagram, trying to make sense of it. While the technology was far beyond anything on Earth, some of the components looked vaguely familiar, like wires, circuits, and power cells. Maybe she could find similar items at a local junkyard or hardware store. It wouldn't be perfect, but it might work. Think I can help, Laura said finally. But we'll need to go into town to get some things. Do you think you can stay here while I go? Zira's eyes widened. Town? Humans? Laura chuckled. Don't worry, no one will know about you. I'll be careful. Zira nodded reluctantly, though she still looked uneasy. Laura reassured her, promising to return as quickly as possible. Before leaving, she gave Zira a bottle of water and a granola bar, explaining how to open them. Watching the alien girl cautiously nibble on the snack made Laura smile. Despite the vast differences between them, there was something endearing about Zira's curiosity and innocence. Back in town, Laura visited several stores, gathering supplies that might be useful for repairing the ship. She bought batteries, copper wire, adhesive patches, and various tools. At the junkyard, she scavenged old electronics, hoping to salvage parts that could mimic the ship's advanced components. By the time she returned to the forest, her car was filled with bags and boxes. When Laura arrived at the clearing, she found Zira sitting cross-legged on the ground, staring intently at a flower she had picked. The alien girl looked up when she heard Laura approaching, her face lighting up with excitement. "You brought many things," Zira exclaimed, inspecting the contents of the bags. "Well, I wasn't sure exactly what we needed," Laura admitted. "So I got a little bit of everything." Together, they began sorting through the supplies. Laura showed Zira how to use the tools, demonstrating how to strip wires and connect circuits. Though Zira struggled at first, her natural intelligence allowed her to pick up the basics quickly. In return, Zira shared insights about her own technology, explaining how the ship worked in simple terms. As the day wore on, their bond grew stronger. They laughed when Zira accidentally shocked herself with a live wire, and Laura marveled at the way Zira's skin glowed brighter when she was happy or excited. Zira, in turn, was fascinated by Laura's resourcefulness and determination. Despite their differences, they found common ground in their shared goal. At one point, Laura leaned over to examine a particularly delicate component inside the ship. Zira watched her closely, then blurted out, "Human, it's too big." Laura paused, confused. "What's too big?" "Your fingers." Zira giggled, pointing to Laura's hand. "Too big for this." Realizing what Zira meant, Laura burst into laughter. "Well, I guess I'll just have to be extra careful, won't I?" Their shared moment of humor broke the tension, reminding them both that they were learning together. For Laura, it was a reminder of how much fun this strange situation could be, despite the challenges. For Zira, it was proof that humans weren't so different from Valens after all. By the time the sun began to set, they had made significant progress. Several damaged parts had been replaced, and the ship's energy levels seemed to stabilize slightly. Exhausted but satisfied, Laura sat down beside Zira, sipping water from a bottle. "This is going to take a while," Laura said, glancing at the ship. "But we're getting there," Zira nodded. "Thank you, Laura. You good human." Laura smiled. "And you're a good alien. We make a pretty good team, don't we?" Zira's glowing skin brightened, and she grinned, a gesture that looked surprisingly human. For the first time since meeting Zira, Laura felt truly hopeful. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew they could face them together. Laura Harper lived in a small, quiet town surrounded by rolling hills and thick forests. It was the kind of place where nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. Most people spent their days working at the local grocery store or tending to their gardens, but Laura was different. She had a secret hobby that made her stand out, even if no one else knew about it. Every night, after finishing her dinner and cleaning up the dishes, she would climb to the roof of her house with her telescope. There, under the vast expanse of stars, she felt alive. Stargazing wasn't just a pastime for Laura. It was her escape. She loved looking at the night sky, imagining what might be out there beyond Earth. Were there other planets like hers? Other civilizations? Or was humanity truly alone in the universe? These questions kept her awake long after everyone else in the neighborhood had gone to bed. On clear nights, she would spend hours adjusting her telescope, searching for anything unusual, a flicker of light, a sudden movement, anything that didn't belong. One evening, as Laura adjusted her lens to get a better view of a distant constellation, something caught her eye. At first, she thought it was just her imagination playing tricks on her. A faint blinking light appeared near the edge of her field of vision. It wasn't like any star she had seen before. Stars didn't blink like that. And this light wasn't stationary. It moved. Slowly, deliberately, almost as if it were alive. Laura's heart raced. She leaned closer to the eyepiece, focusing. Harder. The light was definitely moving, but not in the way airplanes or satellites did. This was something else entirely. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her phone to record the object. For several minutes, she tracked its path across the sky, her excitement growing with every second. Whatever it was heading toward Earth. When the light finally disappeared behind the horizon, Laura sat back, breathless. She replayed the footage on her phone, trying to make sense of what she had seen. It wasn't much, just a tiny dot moving against a backdrop of stars. But it was enough to convince her that something extraordinary was happening. The next morning, Laura couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious light. She skipped breakfast and instead loaded her car with supplies, a flashlight, some snacks, a notebook, and her camera. Using the coordinates from her telescope, she calculated where the object might have landed. According to her rough estimates, it should be somewhere deep in the forest outside town, though part of her wanted to call anyone to share what she had seen. She decided against it. If this really was something important, she wanted to discover it herself. The drive to the forest took about 20 minutes. As she parked her car on the side of the dirt road, Laura felt a mix of fear and anticipation. What if whatever had fallen from the sky was dangerous? Or worse, what if it wasn't even real and she was chasing a wild goose? Shaking off her doubts, she grabbed her gear and started walking into the woods. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sounds coming from the rustling leaves and occasional bird calls. Laura followed the map on her phone, navigating through dense trees and uneven terrain. After nearly an hour of hiking, she stumbled upon something that made her freeze in her tracks. Ahead of her, partially buried in the soft earth, was a large, metallic sphere. It glowed faintly, emitting a soft hum that vibrated through the air. Laura approached cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. The sphere was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its surface shimmered, reflecting colors that shifted depending on how the light hit it. She circled around it, taking pictures and jotting down notes in her notebook. Just as she was reaching out to touch it, a loud hissing sound startled her. She jumped back, dropping her flashlight. A section of the sphere slid open, revealing a dark opening. Laura held her breath, unsure of what to expect. Then slowly, a figure emerged. It was small, no taller than 4 feet, with smooth blue skin that seemed to glow in the dim light. Large, almond-shaped eyes blinked curiously at Laura, and a pair of thin arms gestured toward her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Laura stared at the creature, her mind racing with questions. Was this an alien? Had she really found proof of extraterrestrial life? Before she could say anything, the creature tilted its head, studying her with the same curiosity. Finally, it spoke in halting, broken English. "You, human?" Laura nodded, still too stunned to speak. When she finally found her voice, she managed a weak smile. "Yes," she said. "I'm human. My name is Laura." The creature mimicked her gesture, placing a hand over its chest. "I am Zira." Zira's voice was soft and melodic, though heavily accented. She explained, using gestures and simple words, that her ship had malfunctioned during a routine mission. She needed help repairing it, but there was one problem. She didn't fully understand humans yet. Her species, the Valens, were cautious about interacting with less advanced civilizations. They preferred to observe from afar rather than risk exposure. As they communicated, Laura couldn't help but notice how delicate Zira seemed compared to her own robust frame. The alien girl's movements were graceful but hesitant, as if she were afraid of breaking something. Despite her initial fear, Laura felt a strange sense of connection with Zira. Here was someone or something who was just as curious about her as she was about it. By the time the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Laura realized she had been talking to Zira for hours. She promised to return the next day with tools and supplies to help repair the ship. As she walked back to her car, her mind buzzed with possibilities. She had always dreamed of finding evidence of alien life, but she never imagined it would happen like this. Now, she had a new purpose: to help Zira fix her ship and perhaps learn more about the universe beyond her own world,